Oh, we're on now. Hi.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Dirty Lola. Now we're laughing. Okay. Hi, I'm Dirty Lola, and I am at Please, an educated sex shop based in Brooklyn, and we are here for our third and final installment of the Sexual Pivot Chat. Tonight, I am joined by. I'm gonna just say it because it's been three, but maybe no. I'll let you do it because maybe they didn't watch the first two.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Valentine. I'm a sex and kink educator based here in New York City. I've been in this industry for about 20 years in a lot of different capacities. But my main goal with this work is to help people connect to their sexual selves and have more fulfilling sex lives. You can find me online at vibing_with_V on social media platforms. And yeah, I'll pass it to Carly.
I'm Carly S. You can find me online at Makeup and Sin. I also run the blog dildo or dildon't.com. I've been in the industry about 15 years, also in various capacities. I'm also New York City born and raised. Yeah, you should watch the other ones if you want more info.
We're all giggling now. And I'm Dirty Lola. I'm a sex educator based in Brooklyn, and I didn't give my time. I've been doing this work. I don't know. At this point, I might be 14 years too. Damn, we're old. And I
So
do
good.
workshops. I mainly teach young adults, and I work a lot in edutainment and media. You can find me on Netflix and HBO. And we are back to talk about the sexual pivot. Tonight's book is Getting It by Allison Moon. Also, we're the writer of Werewolf Lesbian Smut. So we're probably going to also talk about that. I'm just going to let you know that now. But as usual, we're starting our episode talking about what the sexual pivot is, in our opinion, and what the difference between a sexual pivot and an awakening is. And tonight's me.
Yeah,
I
it's
get
your
to
turn.
I get to go. Definitely, everything y'all two have said about sexual pivot, I agree with. And also, it really is like turning the corner, and sometimes in a difficult way. When we got the title of this, I kept thinking about that Friends episode with Ross, and they're trying to go up the stairs with the couch, and he's like, pivot, pivot. That's what it feels like in my head sometimes when I'm trying to like figure out where I'm going, or I'm on the dating app and I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Or my partner's in town, which he was in town last week, and I was like very cuddly but not feeling very sexy, and then felt very guilty about it. All those things are part of the sexual pivot and how we're changing and the people that we are becoming. And it's very in the front of my mind. And then we were talking about the difference between the pivot and an awakening. I think a lot of people think an awakening is something that happens when you're young, but I think for a lot of folks, awakenings happen at various times of their life. I don't necessarily think it's just when you discover sex. I think it's like that epiphany moment. And so for me, I was in my early 30s when I started realizing like, oh, maybe I'm kinky. Like the things that I was doing, I'm like, oh, okay, yep. And when I read these certain books, I'm like, oh, my lady parts are getting very excited. Why is this so exciting? And wanting to discover those things. And then when I got into it, I was like, oh, wow. And it was wild. It was like a decade of wild, wild westness. And that was, again, in my 30s. It wasn't in my 20s. And I think I was kind of wild in my 20s and did a lot of things, a lot of people. A lot of, you have moments, but that to me felt more like exploring and discovery, and not really an epiphany moment, because I didn't really know. I was just figuring stuff out. And then when that aha moment, that light bulb came, that was in my 30s. Same thing with polyamory. That was an aha moment. I literally remember like sitting up straight like this when I realized like the thing I wanted in my life was non-monogamy, and that I just never had the phrase for it, and that I had been non-monogamous and then ruined it when I fell in love with that man, with that one man, and got married. And then I was like, hey, I messed up. What can we do about this? And then we opened up. I mean, it didn't happen that quickly. He was mad about it a little bit, but yeah. So they can come at any point.
You can have more than one.
You can have more than one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have more than one. But tonight's book is, I'm going to give you a little about what the book is about. It's a fun and accessible guide to navigating queer dating, sex, and relationships. Provides practical advice on flirting, negotiating boundaries, and understanding different relationship dynamics. I think this is, out of the bunch, probably the book that right now fits my life because it's, I kind of think of it as like a good companion piece to like the ethical slut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think
Definitely.
the ethical slut is like the emotionality of being slutty and like finding things out about yourself and rethinking structure and relationships. And I think this is the like, okay, well, how do we do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love this book. I think reading it when originally read it when it first came out, shout out to Allison, amazing educator. And I read it as a follow up to Girl Sex 101, which is Allison's book before this
Yes.
one. And what I really loved about it was that it really focuses on doing your work for yourself as you are trying to explore new things. And this focuses on like hookups and dating. But I found it so helpful in setting up like different structures for communication that apply across the board. Um, and it's just like so helpful to have these like well framed questions to ask yourself and then to ask partners. And it's just such a wonderful communication tool.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And I like how she also talks about like how to be alone,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
because I think that people forget that a lot of hooking up is being alone.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially if you're not in a relationship, a lot of the hookup process is finding that hookup and talking to them and getting to the hookup part.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the hookup is temporary.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And
Yeah.
like I love that she follows it up with like feeling shame after and like how to deal with that and just like aftercare for yourself if the person isn't going to provide it for you. So I really love that she focuses on taking care of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the longest relationship you're going to have is with yourself.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. You are your own best lover.
Yeah.
It's the way it is. Yeah, I enjoy just again the structure, the questions to ask yourself, ways to work through things, prompts on how to talk to partners, on how to formulate boundaries, like figuring out your boundaries. That can be the hardest thing for folks is figuring out um, how to create boundaries or even the questions to ask yourself. I've
Yeah.
been doing late night talking to people about sex and bars for money. That sounds so funny, but it's true. And a lot of when I'm talking to them, I feel almost like this should be so easy, and then I say it, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's so profound." But they go, "How do I find love?" Or where, and I'm like, "Well, how are you looking?" And they're like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "Well, where are you looking for love? Where are you? Where are you stationed? Like, where are you trying to find it?" Or when they talk about things with partners, they make it all about the partner, and I'm like, "Well, wait, what do you want?" Because you can't ask for something from your partner unless you know what you're asking for, and you don't know what you're asking for unless you know what you want. And a lot of people want other people to make decisions for them,
Yeah.
and that doesn't work because then you end up just being unhappy.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit laziness, a little bit not knowing how to do it, and so they're just the expectation of a partner will help you figure out that decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's actually a section in the book that I was looking over earlier today that was about that. Like, what if you don't know? Right? Like, a lot of the framework that we have around sexual communication is just figure out how to ask for what you want.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's so many reasons that we may not know what we want. Part of it is the pivot. Like, what I want today isn't what I wanted 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It isn't what I wanted 10 months ago. So I like the framework of if you don't know what you want, here are some questions to ask yourself and some things that you can do to explore on your own rather than putting that on a partner,
Yeah.
Right.
especially a hookup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the most important question for like getting into a hookup that she asks for you to ask yourself is why do you want the hookup? Because you can give yourself an orgasm. So, like, what are you looking for? Are you looking for touch? Are you looking for intimacy? Are you looking for a spanking? Like, what are you seeking out of this hookup? And, like, how is the best way to go about getting that need met?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The biggest overarching theme of this book and the thing I love the most about it is basically, wait, I lost it. It's in there. I had it and I lost it. What was it? Oh my God. Where did it go? Um, oh God, it really left. This is high perimenopause.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get little brain moments. I'm demonstrating things.
Yeah, demonstrating a pivot.
This is a pivot.
Yeah.
This is how we pivot, and then we're gonna like. But it's we talked about the setting of the boundaries, that all of these things are deserved even when it's a hookup.
Yes.
I think people
Yeah.
think casual sex means casual attitude,
Yeah.
and it doesn't. You deserve to have boundaries and consent and wants and needs and desires, even in these little pocket relationships.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just kind of think you get what you get, and
Yeah.
that doesn't. And that's what it's been for a lot of folks, but it doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't. And like that's something that I continue to learn. Like sometimes, and like my partner can attest to this, where it's like I'll have a hookup and I can see that the hookup is not going great. Like maybe the other person's having a good time and I'm like checked out or whatever. And like I have the tools and the practice to be like, this isn't going great. Let's pivot. But the number of times that I do that is less than 100%.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that that's a thing that I always have to remind myself is like, just because we agreed to go on this ride doesn't mean we can't get off of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if it's like a little bit not great.
Yeah.
But there is a section in the book that talks about like, okay, so sometimes we have hookups or we have sex or we have play because there's like a mutual desire that meets at like the same level. And sometimes it's because it's like performing a function and that's okay too.
Yeah.
Like if you go back to what you were talking about earlier, Carly, which is like, why am I doing it? What am I getting out of it?
Yeah.
Like sometimes I want to have a hookup not because I want to come, but because I want to get out of my head and get
Yeah.
into my body.
Totally.
And whether it's like the best orgasm I've ever had, or even if I have an orgasm, it doesn't matter as much as like I'm getting something out of this interaction and the other person has co-signed and they're getting something out of it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the goal for my hookup is I want this person to tell me how hot I am,
Yeah.
and to be really turned on by me, and then they can leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've gotten my fill of this, and you can go now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just distraction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like
Yeah.
you just don't want to. Maybe you went through a breakup or something's happened and you're like, how can I not think about this for
Yeah.
like maybe like a couple hours? Go
Exactly.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else.
And like that's a valid reason. Like,
Yeah.
as long as you're not taking advantage of somebody else,
Right.
Yep.
and like they're okay with being the person to give you that attention or that touch or whatever it is, like, and they know that they're not coming over to like, woo you into marriage, and like, it's all good.
Yep.
Yeah. Setting expectations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a big thing also
Yeah.
in the book that they talk about.
Yeah.
The expectations of like, what are you expecting? What do you think the person is expecting? And especially like on dating sites, I feel like people lie.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
People lie about what they're looking for or what you read, and then when you start talking to them, and I'm like, you wrote this. Do you need to update this?
Yeah.
Or they're like, well, I mean, and sometimes people are just out there throwing spaghetti at the wall, literally. And I'm learning this and talking to people about dating. I'm like, are you being intentional about how you're setting up your dating profile? Or are you just putting stuff because you're trying to pull people in? I'm like,
Yeah.
why do you want to pull in people that don't work for you?
Right.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to pull in people that are going to be an issue for you? If you're not looking for monogamy, why would you put monogamy? Because you're going to get monogamy, and then you're going to be mad that only monogamous people
Yeah.
are reaching out to you.
Yep.
And I think part of it is people think they could trick people into doing something different.
Yeah.
It really, it doesn't always, not always nefarious, but a lot of people feel like
Yeah.
if I'm hot enough, if I'm smart enough, if gosh darn it, I am sexy enough,
Yeah.
this person will do what I
Yeah.
want them to do, or they'll love me enough where they'll have
Yeah.
the kind of relationship. And I'm like, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually talking to a friend about this last week, and they were explaining to me this pattern that they had noticed in themselves is that they tend to get into, they're poly, and they tend to get into situations with people who are like, I'm not poly, but this works for me, and for now. And then the for now gets prolonged, and then eventually what comes out is like this person is just waiting for you to like get it out of your system
Mm-hmm.
and settle down with them. So
Mm-hmm.
there's also the piece of like I can't make a decision for you. You know,
Yeah.
like you have to be really clear on like what your expectation is and communicate the truth about it because I'm not trying to change my entire
Yeah.
relationship system that works for me
Yeah.
just to like, eventually
To
give
be
you
with
what you
you.
want.
Yeah.
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 Well, it's the love will conquer all. And I'm like, you can love somebody, but expecting love to make people be in the long run unhappy is
Yeah.
kind of ridiculous. And do you love them if you want them to be so different
Yeah.
from who they want to
Exactly.
be? Is that love? I'm
Exactly.
like, it's not. If you're waiting for somebody to be monogamous or not monogamous, and you're hoping that if you get them to love you, I'm like, that's fucked up.
It
Yeah.
That's
is.
manipulation, and it's going to come back to bite you in the ass eventually. Even if it's 3 years from now,
Yes.
some shit's gonna happen, and then you're unhappy, and you're like, "How did we get here?" And it's like, "Cause you lied, you manipulated, and maybe you don't see it that way, but that's what that is."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. There was another part in the book where it's about a different kind of pivot too. That's like, okay, so this started as a hookup. We agreed to these boundaries, and now I caught feelings, or like now it's progressed into something else, and like I just kind of want to be clear that I don't think it's like wrong or fucked up for that to happen
Yeah.
because it happens. People develop feelings for each other. And then, like, all of the narratives of like what happens now that I'm in love start to
Yeah.
kick in, and it's like, okay, so now we're going to be exclusive, or now we're going to get married, or now we're going to do X, Y, or Z, get on the relationship escalator. Um, but then it's like, okay, how do you, something that was helpful in the book is like tools around like managing that and kind of having
Yeah.
those conversations and continuing to consent into the dynamics, whether they change or don't.
yeah. People just keep going.
Yeah.
They don't stop to talk about how things may need to be adjusted or what's
Yeah.
different, and they're both hoping for two different things to happen, or it's just like people aren't adjusting. They're not
Yeah.
talking about it. They're not having those conversations, and I love that it's kind of like, hey, maybe you need to talk about that. I've been having that conversation with people of you need to have a conversation about what this looks like for you, how you're feeling about it, where do you want to go. I'm in my personal life, I feel like I do so much teaching, even when it is, it's part of being an educator, but also being in relationships is like trying to explain to people when I keep dating monogamous people. It just happens. Okay. I know what I'm doing. Like, I know I'm like, this is going to end poorly somehow. And the last person I was dating who's monogamous, he just kept having these conversations with me. And he goes, so what happens if we fall in love? I'm like, I'm going to still be non monogamous. I'm like, do you think that your love is stronger, more powerful than the man I've been with for 7 years? And that somehow your love, because of proximity, is going to pull me away from somebody who I've been in love with for 7 years. What? No. And he goes, well, how do you do this? I'm like, how am I sucking your dick while I have a boyfriend of 7 years? It's called, it can all exist inside. Like,
Exactly.
that's what non-monogamy is. So having those conversations, because some people just can't wrap their head around it. But the in live time, I'm watching him, he's like getting crushy on me, and he's like, so what's gonna happen? I'm like, I'm still gonna be non-monogamous, friend.
Yeah.
Would you like to meet my boyfriend? He's coming in like 2 weeks. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. And you have to kind of be that person. And then when people are like, well, what happens if they walk away? Okay, they walk away.
Walk away.
It's not worth having. I'm not giving up something for somebody else. That's just not. I don't even understand that. Like, that's. I was bad at monogamy when I was monogamous, and I've never understood. I've always been like, why can't Betty and Veronica both date Archie? Like,
They were essentially doing it anyway.
all the time. They were all
Yeah.
together all the time. Just like, why? I never get it. I don't understand the having to make the choice. And so when people try to make me, I'm like, I don't understand
Yeah, like reality dating shows would be so much cooler if everyone would just act real cool about it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Because immediately everybody's claimed someone,
Right.
and now somehow it's a
Like,
betrayal.
Right, we made eyes the first night.
Just
and I'm
met.
Like, we're all supposed to be dating this dude. Like, y'all need to chill out.
Right.
Yeah.
It's one man. You're all in a house together,
Yeah.
and that's one man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you all are together, that's polygamy. If
Yeah,
you, if
yeah,
you, you know, if it's a one penis possibly. But yeah, it's
Yeah. I mean, they could all kiss too.
They
but
could all,
that's-
like, you
that's-
should all
That
kiss.
would
That could all
actually
kiss.
Yeah.
solve more of the
Yeah,
problems,
that
I
would
think.
solve a lot of my problems.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
some of them, and some of them would just leave, and he would have less to choose from
That's
because
what
they'd
I'm
be like, you
saying,
know what,
yeah.
I'm good. I don't need this. I don't need this. Even all the things in this book, other things that I like about it, because you might go like, well, maybe I'm not into hooking up. Just from all the communication aspects, I think it's helpful in learning how to talk to your partners about the things that are happening to your body, and not keeping things to yourself, or not waiting until they erupt for whatever reason, or like putting something that happens. I think in what's happened currently for me is a change in my libido with my long-term partner, and the fact that he's also long distance, and what that looks like when he visits, and like the guilt I have when I'm not wanting to have sex every single day he's here, but I'm also like very clingy and want to be on him, and I'm like, it's kind of changed. So having that conversation about, it's not that I'm not attracted to you. It's about me. It's my body. It's what I'm needing in the moment.
Yeah.
But having those conversations, and I think this is a really great tool for learning how to do that in a way that doesn't devolve into like a crazy argument.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any other pieces you want to?
No.
You're like, no, nothing else. Well, has there been a time in y'all's life where you've had to talk to somebody about like the things you were going through physically with like hemorrhoids and things?
Yeah.
Those things aren't necessarily sexy.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I'm lucky that my partner also deals with like his own issues with chronic illness. So like it's a lot easier for me to talk about like delicate issues like that because he's got his own delicate issues that he's dealing with. So like if if my butthole was bleeding, it's not, completely horrible to have to bring it up because like he has his own issues. But, it still sucks, and it's not something I want to bring up because it doesn't make me feel sexy.
Right.
So like just because it's not something my partner's going to be like grossed out by or like turned off by, like it doesn't make me feel sexy. So it's not
Right.
it's not something easy to bring up because like I want to have sex, I want to feel sexy. It's not fun to bring up. So even though it's not like oh my god, I'm sorry. That's my pill alarm.
Pause.
Yeah.
Pivot. Pivot.
Yeah. Pill pivot.
Pill pivot.
Yeah. Yeah. So like just because the conversation is easy to bring up to a partner, it still might not be easy to bring up on my end because it's not something sexy to talk about. So, it's just one of those things that has to happen because like you don't want to make your partner feel unwanted because like I want to have sex, but like my body can't have sex because I can't do penetration. I can't do sexy things because like it just can't happen. So like there's other things that we can do, but like if I'm not feeling sexy, like who wants to do sexy things?
Yeah.
So it even if it's like a conversation that can be had, it's hard to bring up because who wants to not feel sexy?
I had a was it going to be hookup? There's a man. He's British, and he's been in my life for a very long time. It's like over a decade, and we occasionally will meet up and do things. And he was coming to my house for tea, British tea. And I got my period. Like it came early, and I felt I was just like not feeling it, and I didn't want to get pretty, and I had on a sweatsuit onesie. And I texted him and I was like, hey, I know you're going to be coming this way soon. Here's where I am at. I have my period. I feel like trash. I'm not going to put on makeup. I understand if this isn't the thing you're signing up for. Cool if you want to reschedule. And he was like, no, I want to see you. We can still have tea. And I'm like, cool. And he came through and he made tea and we sat on the couch and he was like, do you want a massage? Do you want to like, and I'm like, oh yeah, I would love that. And he's giving me a massage and then we're talking and then he's like, asking along, can I kiss you? Can I kiss? And I'm like, yes. And then it was so hot. He's like just kissing, and then we're making out. And the next thing you know, like the back flap of my sweatsuit onesie is unzipped and the front zip is zipped down. And I'm giving him a blowjob while wearing this fucking sweatsuit. It was like the hottest thing that came out of nowhere, but it came from pivoting.
Yeah.
It came from like the change of the idea. Even in the not feeling sexy, like he kind of worked in the, he was still sexy, like attracted to me.
Yeah.
Even in my thing, he was just like, all those zippers. Like he was all worked up about it. So he was still in it, even though I was like, I feel like dirt. And then his attraction and just him being kind and even after he was like, hey, I don't want, I feel like maybe I talked to you into that. I was like, no, I was on board the whole way. But I appreciaed him checking in after to say like, did you feel like you had to? Because I was there. I was like, you know me, no. Because I'd be like, get the fuck out. And I'll tell you, put your panties on and leave. Like, but thank you for checking on me and making sure that I was in that headspace. And that was like a moment where I realized, like, that's the kind of person I want to be with.
Yeah.
Like, he's not my best friend, but we've known each other for a long time. We're friends. We have an understanding. And it just felt good that, like, oh, I have somebody in my life who gets it when I'm not feeling cute.
Yeah.
And it still ended up being like he still will text me with like, remember that time in that onesie? Will you wear that next time? And I'm like, sure. The sweatsuit onesie is now lingerie.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think for me, one of the pivot, difficult conversation things that I don't think we talked about yet in this series is around STI status.
Yeah.
I think talking about STI is hard, period.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
A lot of what we learn about STIs and if you contract an STI is about like, it's your fault.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with you. You're no longer desirable.
Dirty.
You should, it's dirty.
Yeah.
You should be
Yeah.
ashamed.
Yeah.
You did something to bring this onto yourself.
You don't deserve to keep having sex.
Exactly. No one's going to want to have sex with you. And I think for me, like, one, it changes how you have sex, whether that's like ongoing or if you're on like a antibiotic that's going to make it go away for that amount of time or whatever. But it's a really hard conversation to have. And I think when I've had to have that conversation to tell someone like, hey, you should get tested and here's why. And, like having to have that conversation with one person or more than one person, it never really gets easier. But I've had my husband actually has really helped me to rethink that. So when we had to have that conversation, and I was like, "You should go to the doctor," and he was like, "Okay, cool," and I was like, "I'm so sorry," and I just like went on this whole thing about like just kind of apologizing for. Something that wasn't my fault, something that I had internalized as my fault. And he was like, this isn't like a thing that you need to feel sorry about, right?
Yeah.
Like, we all knew the level of risk we were taking when we got into the situation that we got into, and like, now we go to the doctor and deal with it and then continue to have that conversation. And unfortunately, that is not the norm of how that conversation goes, right? So I feel really lucky and privileged to have had that conversation with a couple of people that went similarly. But the stigma around STIs makes it really, really difficult to even like admit to yourself. Like I know a lot of people who are afraid to go get tested even. Like they don't know their status. And they continue to not know their status, and then when it gets to the like kind of urgent point of like, okay, I can't avoid.
Yeah, like now I have a symptom or something that I can't ignore.
Or it's if it's syphilis, please y'all, syphilis.
Yeah,
Syphilis
to
is
make holes in your brain.
well, syphilis is killing more people than AIDS at this point because if it goes undiagnosed, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Like once it gets to a certain point. But there's the other talking about getting tested. Like the other side of that as a human who is slutty and likes to cup the things that I do, I'm on PrEP. I've been on PrEP for, 5 years now. I'm always asking about, like, can I get on are there new things for me? Because of PrEP, I get tested every 3 months. And I always have all my information. I also have, like, my Hep B. I'm, like, immune. Like, all the things. I've had my HPV vaccination, which you can get now. after you're let's like up to 40,
Up to 45 now.
up to 45. So go. If you're not 45 yet, you can get it. Get it. Just go. Do it. But those are all the things. So now, one, I feel like my risk assessment is like I feel like, oh, I have these things. I have these protections that I've put upon myself, and things can still happen. But I'm like, okay, I know I've done this. I make sure I buy my own condoms. I'm allergic to latex. I always have my own stash, but also I trust what I carry. I know how old it is. I'm reading expiration dates, like the things I know what to look for, like lesions and stuff, because not everybody's going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I have partners who do have herpes, and we have updates. When was the last time you had an outbreak? All those things, so I can make a decision about where I want to go. You're not always going to get that. But as a person who has all those things, when I've gotten the call, I got a call with somebody who was like, he was so upset about, I think it was Hep B, and I was like, okay. And he's like, you're so calm. I'm like, I'm immune. And he was like, what? And I'm like, I'm immune. He's like, how do you know? I'm like, I know because I got all the things. It's in my phone. I will still go get tested. Thank you for telling me.
Yeah.
But he was mad that I wasn't upset. And I'm like, dude, it's okay. Like, I do you have other people you need to call?
Yeah.
Maybe they'll be upset for it the way you want them to be
Yeah,
upset.
they'll have the reaction you
Yeah.
wanted.
Or
Yeah.
like I've had condoms break and the guy was like, you're so calm. I'm like, one, the drugstore's over there. Give me $50.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get the morning after pill. And I'm on prep, so I'm not that worried about things. And I'll be fine. I'll get tested in a couple of days. Like, it's I know I can call my clinic. I have a clinic that I can go, hey, I had Apache, shout out. They're on Canal. I'm like, hey, if you call them and tell them something happened, they will make time for you. You can go in and get. They have rapid HIV. You have to wait. I wouldn't go. You're not going to know right
24
away,
hours, 48 hours,
right?
something
But they
like
do have a rapid HIV test. Like there's knowing your resources makes it easier. I
Yeah.
think and also like I feel like I'm armed if I was the one to pass something along. I can be like, hey, you know where you can go.
Yeah, exactly.
So to offer that, yeah.
Shout out to the health department. too.
Listen, during COVID, when the NYC Health Department was like glory holes,
Build a glory hole.
Yeah.
you know
on it.
how to be safe, glory holes.
Yeah.
And they're like, here's a diagram. They didn't do a diagram, but that would have been great.
It was a great explanation.
It was.
Yeah.
They were like, a glory hole is a hole in a surface where you can put your genitals. And I was like, I love this so much. I saved it. I printed it out.
I have a screenshot too. I'm like,
I was like, perpetuity. I need to save this. Oh my God. Thank you guys. This was so good. This is such a good chat. And I'm so glad we did this. Thank you, please, for having us have this very important conversation about the sexual pivot. Where can folks find you to follow all the rest of your work?
at vibing_with_V.
Yeah.
Makeup and Sin and dildo or dildon't.com.
And at Dirty Lola on Instagram and dirtylola.co. Also, Please NYC on Instagram. And Magic Wand, thank you again for letting us use these fantastic microphones. And they have, what is their Magic Wand official? Is their Instagram?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, also follow Thongria if you want some good Magic Wand content.
Yeah.
There's some really good Magic Wand content. So thanks, y'all. Thanks so much. Thank you, please.
Thanks, please.
Thank you.